mostly that war is the reason the metro is in such a crappy state today. But hey, sometimes you gotta break a few metros to make a socialist omelet. Hello everybody, my name is YujimboXD and welcome back to the channel. And as you may have guessed, we're back with more Hearts of Iron 4 today, and we have some more mods to look at. So 2 months ago, somebody had asked me to look at the Metro Genesis mod. And I always say, leave your comments down below and I will try your suggestion. I just never made a promise of when I would do that. So go ahead and leave your suggestions down below and I may get to it 2 months from now. So anyways, today we have the Metro Genesis mod based off the hit book franchise slash video game franchise. Truth be told, I don't know a ton about the Metro games. I've only ever played the games very briefly, so I only have very basic level knowledge about these games and the universe. So I was kind of waiting to do this one. I thought maybe I could learn more about the universe before going into it, but then I figured, forget it. I played the My Little Pony mod without knowing much about that universe, and that ended up fine. So this should be fine. So yeah, this is a alternate history mod that takes place in the Metro universe where World War III happened and the whole world kind of got nuked to pieces, much like Fallout. And in fact, some people's headcanon say that these two franchises actually take place in the same universe, which I'm okay with because as far as I know in the Fallout universe, Russia is not really mentioned post World War III. So I'm cool with that headcanon. Just ignore the fact that in Fallout, the bombs fell in 2077 and in this universe, they fell in 2013. So a good 60-year difference, but shh, don't think about it. Maybe they just don't know how calendars work. So with that in mind, we'll take a deeper look at it and maybe I can see what the big hubbub is about. I do like me a good post-apocalyptic universe, so let's see if this can draw me in like Fallout did. So let's look at the scenarios. We have 2 scenarios to choose from, 2028 and 2033, but one is in progress. This mod is still in early access, so there might be unfinished bits here and there, but we're used to that around here. But we have our leaders here, our survivors of the post-apocalyptic wasteland. I don't know pretty much any of these factions, but long story short, after the war, Moscow got nuked and the survivors of the city were living in the underground metro to avoid the fallout and horrible monsters that live on the surface. So that is the world we're at today. We're in the Moscow metro. But we have our leaders. I don't know who to pick from. Of course, we have a fair amount of communists, as you might expect being in Russia, but we also have a few unexpected people like the Fourth Reich. I don't know what they're doing in the middle of a subway tunnel and why man thought declaring the Fourth Reich in a subway tunnel was a great idea, but here we are. Oh, and it looks like he has some robot men. Neat. All right, but I don't know who else to play, so we are in Russia. I feel we haven't had a good communist run in a while, so why not play this gentleman, Andrei Moskvin, very Lenin-inspired looking chap. So we'll get into it. And here we have the map, and this, truth be told, is basically the whole reason I wanted to look at this map. This alone looked very unique. It's a map that's made out of nothing but choke points, but we are the Red Line. Great name for communist mole people. So let's get into it. We have Iron Man mode off and historical AI on. All right, we have our usual blurb from the devs. Go ahead and support your devs if you like their mods. And here we are in the Red Line. Looks like we control basically the central bit of the Moscow metro, cutting right through the middle of a bunch of people's territories. All right, and straight away we can tell that things are a bit different. We have some resources up here that I bet we need to keep track of. That does remind me a bit of Old World Blues, so I can dig it. But let's take a look at the focus tree. It looks small now, but I'm pretty sure it will branch out later. So we'll go down the path here and see how it goes. So yes, this is just setting up the lore of our little metro here, is just setting the stage for what happened. Basically, long story short, our people were trapped in the metro and we found tons of communist statues and propaganda like a great Egyptian tomb. So we began to worship these figures, and now like good communists, we need to spread the good word across the metro. And we'll make Andre a symbol of the revolution. Maybe he'll be the next Stalin of the train tunnels. And now let's take a look at the tech tree. As you can tell right away, it's a stripped down version of the tech tree. They've removed things like airplanes because obviously we're in tunnels. That would never work, although it'd be hilarious to see them try. But it looks like we have guns, which I presume are from the video games. They look very video gamey. And instead of tanks, we have train cars that we can weaponize. So that's fun. If anything, they've simplified the tech tree a lot, but they've also added a few other questionable features. And now to check the state of the economy. Looks like for being a bunch of people who live in tunnels, we have quite a lot of factories to begin with. Although a ton of them are being used up in consumer goods, so I think we need to get the war economy going. We also have some new buildings we can mess with. So now we can commit war crimes even when we're not around. Of course, because we're living in a post-apocalyptic universe, we don't have regular equipment. We have just some old junk. But if it was good enough for Grandpa, it should be good enough for us. Although it looks like the only small arms we're making are pistols. Things gotta be real desperate if you're just down to having everyone using pistols. And we have some more history about how we created the largest war in the metro when we fought the other capitalist stations. And mostly that war is the reason the metro is in such a crappy state today. But hey, sometimes you gotta break a few metros to make a socialist omelet. We got some more lore. I guess during the peace talks for our big war, we had to give Polis here some free access to our metro, and we got cut in half. I can't think of any nation that would get pissed off that they were no longer connected. But it's a new day for the socialist people of the Red Line, so I think we need to go about reclaiming lost territory and maybe even slap around some Nazis, just like Granddad. And Andre here has a brother, Maxim, who has always lived in his shadow and is a bit jealous that we are a cool leader of a socialist party and he's just some nerd who negotiates secret peace deals. But we'll give the little nerd a job. We'll let him be our military theorist. That way we don't have to spend the political power to hire one. And we just had a bunch of justifications, warnings pop up against us, but the only one that actually seems to be on our border is Kaczynski Most. We'll get our troops over there and see what they do. And the officer corps doesn't seem too happy with our new reforms, and one of our officers stole a bunch of important documents. Boy, I hope that doesn't come to bite us in the ass later. Alright, we have finished our small focus tree, and as promised, it has opened up a little bit more now, and we can start doing more reforms and a few other items like purges. Nothing says communism like a good officer purge, and it looks like we have to get our people some mushrooms or there'll be a civil war. Words never uttered before. And we have a new head of the NKVD. And of course we can't trust him because he's the head of the NKVD. I think one of the requirements for the job is being shady as fuck. So it looks like we have another crisis. The military is going to revolt. So we have to finish both sides of our focus tree before our metro collapses into a civil war. And I decided to deal with the officers first. I don't want to have to fight my own army, but I can deal with a bunch of starving people. And one of our generals is stealing manpower when we desperately need it. We can try and negotiate with them, or we can just break their kneecaps, which is my preferred method. And the citizens are getting kind of pissed off, so we have to deal with them sooner or later. So our choice is we can ask the capitalists for help, which we're definitely not going to do. So instead, I guess we'll have to do some reforms, as much as it pains me. I don't want to change the way things are. It's terrible. I like it this way because I have a million war justifications against me. I wasn't really paying attention, and this small little pocket here, Strensky, declared war on me. Well, they don't seem to even have enough troops on their border, so this should hopefully be a quick war. Let's find out. Oh, yep, immediately walked into their capital, and there we go. Don't know what you were hoping for, but I'll take your free land. Uh-oh, Nazis declared war on me. The Fourth Reich is knocking on my border, and I was not really ready for him, I'll be honest. Hopefully I can do something about this. Alright, I seem to have stabilized this front, but I also noticed something else. As one of the mod developers, I did notice there was an April Fool's update, so this might be part of it. I wouldn't want my portrait used in association with this. Well, we don't seem to be able to push the Nazis out of the tunnel, but we have stabilized this front. We mostly can't do any pushing because we can't change our templates, and they are just absolutely terrible. Well, the front may have stalled the Nazis, but at least the home front is going a bit better. We have round up the ringleaders of the little mushroom rebellion, and now we can finally put down the revolts for good. Alright, we've been just sitting around for a while. We finally did Martyrs Disappear, which allows us to finally edit our infantry templates. And hopefully we can start pushing these fronts once we rearm and add some new fun stuff, like flamethrower teams. Now that we've weakened the officer revolution, we can now begin the Great Purges. It's about time. We haven't had a good one in a while. We're still trying trying to reform our army into something that can push the Fourth Reich out, but we have now unlocked our new big chunky focus tree now that we've dealt with the 2 revolts we had brewing. And now that 2030 has rolled around, it looks like we have an election. Although this doesn't feel like the socialism I know, but it looks like it's our own brother competing against us. I guess that's what we get for keeping the little nerd boy around. But we already seem to be more popular than him, so I think we can beat him fair and squaresies. Alright, still not much has happened in a while, but I have drilled down to my focus tree where I can now puppet Krasinski most, which is this faction here which borders the Nazis, which will hopefully open up a new front because, yeah, these choke points are real. Even with a fully supplied army, I cannot get through. Alright, the event to puppet them was uneventful. As soon as the focus finished, it immediately puppeted them and we went to war with them. So I had my troops ready over there. Let's see if we can open up a second front and finally push them out. And we got a ton of military factories for that. Holy cow. There we go. Starting to make oh, nope, spoke too soon. Let's see if we can get a bit of an encirclement here. There we go, got one encirclement, and in this mod it seems like any encirclement is a huge win. Oh, looks like we're starting to stretch them out now. There we go, got a bunch more of their units entrapped in their tunnels. There we go, I'm also pushing from the south now, and I've linked up my 2 fronts, and now we're just in their back line causing havoc. There we go. Once we made those sneaky breakthroughs on both the fronts, it was game over for the Nazis. Woo, that was a hard-fought battle, so I'm just going to annex everything. All right, that is one problem dealt with. Who else wants a piece of me? I've yet to declare a single war on anyone. I've only been fighting defensive wars. And it looks like our old rival, the Hansa Commonwealth, is fighting a giant war against, I'm going to butcher this name, Kithiatrius. They're fighting this faction, and I think Hansa is currently losing. Oh, and they just had a revolt break out in the middle of them. Yeah, I think they're gonna die. And then we'll have this enormous faction on our border. Great, love it. Interesting. So that war ended, and as I expected, Hansa was defeated, but they weren't completely annexed and outright, and they weren't even puppeted. So they're still around, but just in a very weakened and chopped up state. Maybe we could take advantage of that? Wow, it just took me this long to realize how these crossings work. I thought these were like collapsed tunnels or something. No, these little red lines here indicates that this section of tunnel actually goes under this territory. So I don't actually have to worry about defending this area, just this front. It's supposed to be a 3D map. I didn't realize that at first. Looks like we're being justified against the 1905s, which is this faction here, which is in the enormous faction. So if they go to war with us, they're going to drag in their whole faction. But I do have a focus to make them leave their faction and join us. So if I can finish that focus before they declare war on us, they'll join our team instead, maybe avert the war, or at least if we have to go to war, we'll have a big new friend on our side. There we go, we completed the focus before they declared war on us, and without too much pomp or circumstance, they're now in our faction. Now the teams look a little bit more balanced, if you ask me. And I should have mentioned this earlier, there is a scavenger mechanic, kind of similar to Old World Blues, but it's a little more simplified. And my last 3 expeditions were eaten, but this one finally returned successfully, and now we have some stuff to choose from. I like this adaptive launcher system. Let's go with that. So once again, caught unawares, somebody declared war on me that I wasn't paying attention to, but thankfully my new allies are already holding down the front. But it looks like another Nazi faction wants to go for round 2, so let's knock them out. And we'll do some force attack, see if we can just quickly encircle their lines. Looks like they called in a few friends. Few friends that I can't even get to. In any case, I just overran their entire army. And I am going to have to kill Hansa to get to the rest of these guys, so why don't we just start justifying on them now? Alright, we have finished our manual justification against Hansa. They lost a war a few years ago, so this should be pretty easy to just steamroll over them. He says, with absolutely no confidence that this will work. But they are scattered in a few places here and there, so we'll see where we can push through. And we'll call our allies in. Here we go, our allies are cutting them off down here in the south while we're doing the work in the north. Seem to be facing no resistance in these sides of the tunnel. Seems all my enemies have merged into one faction, and ignoring the 2 pockets I can't get to, the only place left to clean up is this little piece in the north. Well, I guess snatching up the last victory points in the south while I wasn't looking capitulated Hansa. Now to deal with the rest of the factions, which I think I just have to beat the Nazis who declared war on us. I think I just need to take this city and I'll win. See what a general push can do. Ooh, yep, there we go. We seem to be kicking them out now. There we go. That got them. Now, what can we steal? I mean, who can we spread the joy of communism to? All right, that is our old foe dead, and we control pretty much most of the metro at this point. This is a huge focus tree, so there is a bit more to it that I haven't got to finish seeing yet. But final thoughts on the mod. It was a lot of fun. The map itself was, I think, the most unique thing about this whole thing. Fighting in all those checkpoints really provided some really interesting challenges. And truth be told, I'm kind of curious to go back and play the Metro games now. This kind of put me in the mood to try it again. So it's another great mod. Hopefully once they get out of alpha, they can put a little bit more polish on it. So I recommend it, especially if you're a fan of old world blues. It's very similar to that in a lot of ways. So that is where we'll end it. Thank you so much for watching. This was a suggestion over in the comment section. So if there's any other mods or any other games you'd like to see, you can let me know down below, or you can drop me a line on Discord. That works too. All right, catch you in the next video, comrade.